So today I'm going to be showing you the Jobava London System, which is a different type of opening to the classic London system that I showed you in the last video. It's similar to the normal London system but has a few slight variations. So today I'm going to be going over what the Jobava London System is, how to play it, and common attacking themes for white. This video is just for beginners, so if you know this opening in depth already, you're probably not going to get much value out of this. So just like the normal London system, it starts with d4, black playing d5, white playing knight c3, black playing knight f6, and white playing bishop f4. So as you can see, it's pretty much the same setup with the pawn and bishop. The only difference is you're putting this knight here on c3, where normally in the other London system, it would normally go on d2. Which, even though there's a slight variation on opening moves, it does change the game a lot. The Jobava London system is a bit less structured and a bit more attacking based, so a lot of the openings involve aggressive attack from white, trying to get a very strong advantage out of the opening. So here, the main point, so one of the main things in the Jobava London system is that you're putting a lot of pressure on this c7 pawn here with this bishop. So if black makes a move such as knight c6, white can play knight b5, and straight away the game's going to be very hard to play for black here. If black makes a random move like pushes his pawn, you're going to fork the king and the rook, and once the king moves you just win the rook, and there's not even a clear-cut way to take this knight back yet, so white's just winning here. This is very similar to the fried liver opening, but obviously it's the other side of the board, so instead of going for f7, you're going for c7. In this position here, obviously black's in danger, but white can actually play the move pawn e5, which obviously blocks the scope of the bishop. Here you just simply win a pawn and take this pawn with your pawn, and then basically the knight has to move, and there's a couple squares that the knight will go here. It will either go to h5 or e4. And if it goes to e4, there's a very nice tactic here where the queen can actually sacrifice itself by taking the pawn on d5. And once black takes the queen back, you can jump in here on the c7 pawn and fork the black king and queen and basically win the queen here. And this is completely winning for white because we're just up 3 pawns straight out the opening. Black can go knight h5, attacking the bishop, which is probably more suitable for beginners, and beginners will probably play this a bit more. But you can play the quiet move e3, just defending this bishop, and if black decides to trade, white still controls these pawns in the centre, and even though the idea of attacking on c7 is kind of out the window now, white still enjoys simple play by simply moving this queen up, maybe castling long, and you've got a good attacking position then down the d-file. Back to this position here, instead of playing knight c6 for black, black might also play with a quiet move, pawn e6. Here you can still attack by going knight b5 for white, and the two main moves to defend c7 here are to go knight a6 or bishop d6. So if white goes knight a6, you can simply play e3 here, opening up the scope for this bishop, and if black plays c6 here to simply kick the knight, you can just move back, and let's say black plays a random move like moves his bishop out, white can simply just take this knight and damage black's pawn structure over the queen side. And even on one hand, black might think this is okay because they can enjoy the open b-file with their rook. You can simply just defend this by moving your rook onto the b-file and everything's okay. And black's pawn structure is a bit dodgy here, leaving a lot of gaps for white to come and attack this c6 pawn. If in this position they don't make a random move and they move their knight back to c7, you can just carry on with a normal London setup. So just develop your pieces and make sure everything's safe and you'll still enjoy a comfortable game. So back to this position, and if black wants to play d6 instead with the bishop, blocking this bishop scope, you can just take with the knight and now take back with the pawn. This can be a problem for white as you do lose control over these central squares with the double pawns, and it stops you from jumping into e5 with the knight like you normally would in this opening, but you can still carry on developing as normal. So you end up with a position like this if you just develop all your pieces to the normal squares, but the main difference is you're only putting your bishop on e2 instead of d3. And the only reason being is, with these doubled pawns, black's most likely going to push these pawns, and if they do, it's not a problem for white. White can just move the bishop to g5 here, or even g3, but I just like to utilise this pin, and then if they push his pawn again, the knight can move back, but if the bishop would have been on d3, that would have been a fork for white, and white would have been losing the game. If you do get this position here, where everything's kind of shut off, what I like to do here is actually start a queenside attack. So let's say black plays a random move like bishop d7, white can play queen b3, attacking b7, and let's say white defends by just playing c7 with the queen. You now push this pawn, and if black takes, you can take back with a knight. And on the next move, you're probably just going to castle, so in this position, white's still very strong, the king's safe, and there's a lot of middle game options you can explore. Now, one variation of the Jobava London system, which is played probably less by beginners, but more so for intermediate players, is c6. And this is because they know that the move knight b5 is coming, and they already want to try and defend it. So the two main moves for this are c6 and a6. So we're going to be looking at c6 now and what to do for white in this position. So here you want to carry on with normal play and play pawn e3. Let's say black plays bishop f5. Now in this position here, one of the key attacking themes for the Jobava London system is to play the move f3. And what you're doing here is you're just starting a really aggressive kingside attack. Say here black plays a random move that develops the knight. You can push his g-pawn, which straight away pushes the bishop back. And then you can actually go ahead and push the h-pawn. Here, most likely, black will play something like h6 just so they can bring the bishop back. Obviously, if they don't and they play a random move, you're just going to win the bishop and win the game. So if they play h6 and then, let's say you play h5 and then they move the bishop back, you can go d3 with the bishop, and then once the bishop trade happens, this is actually a great position for white. Let's say black plays a random move again like this. You can castle, then you can even go knight e2 or even knight h3 and just support these pawns all the way up the board. And the good thing about this position for white is black can't castle long because white's bishop's already stopping it. So black has to castle short. And this position here, even though it looks fairly equal from a material standpoint and a space standpoint, if white pushes g5 and then takes, how is black going to stop this h-pawn from just trolling up the board? Then you have obviously this queen pointing right at black's king. Then you can even bring this rook across to the g file as well. There are lots of nuances to this position, and if black is a good defender then they probably can get out of it, but it's very uncomfortable straight out the opening for black to defend this. And this is kind of the dream position you want to get in a Jobava London system. If there's no opening tricks with c7, then this is the kind of position you want to be going for, where you're pushing these kingside pawns and basically dominating black's position. Another common defensive move in the Jobava is just to play a6, again preempting this knight b5 move, which is one that I like to play myself, and obviously it stops any attacks on c7. So in this position, white can simply just play e3. If black plays the move bishop f4, what I advise doing is actually carry on the same theme as last time and pushing this f3 pawn to then go g4 again, and starting the same attack as previously. So let's say here they play the attacking move c5, you just can carry on playing g4, pushing the bishop back, and then even here you can play the move g5, attacking this knight, and this is forcing the knight to go back, and you can simply play the move h4, stabilising this pawn. And again, black's faced with the same obstacle of they can't castle long because their pawn structure isn't very secure here, and this bishop is actually stopping it. But also, if they castle short, these pawns will march up the board and put black's king under a lot of pressure. So there are just a few common moves and positions in the Jobava London system, but the main two attacking ideas is to immediately put pressure on the c7 pawn for white, but if black knows how to defend against that straight away, then the key move here is to play f3 and start this kingside attack where appropriate. You can leave your king in the middle for a bit with this opening, as if black then starts to make a queenside attack, you actually still might want to castle short in the Jobava London system, because black has no defense or attack on the king side in a position similar to this. If they don't play into the Jobava London system, you can also just play like a standard London setup and get a solid opening with a knight on f3. But there's lots of different options here. But it's an opening I definitely recommend for beginners, as it's aggressive and secure at the same time. But thank you for watching this video, and I hope you learned something.